Welcome to 3 Things for April 21st, 2023. 29 lessons. In the past 6 months, I've become a little more experimental in the email newsletters I subscribe to. I wonder why that is. I used to have a very high bar when it came to trying anything new, which, looking back, is not a great way to go through life. But now if something mildly perks my interest in life, I'll investigate further. If it ends up not being particularly helpful or interesting, I'll quickly quit. One thing I hadn't quickly quit is George Mack's email newsletter, because I had forgotten I'd subscribed to it. This week he sent out his first email in 2 years. I don't know anything about this guy, but I found his post 29 lessons on my 29th birthday to be outstanding. I'm 32 years old, so who knew I had anything to learn from a 29-year-old? Crazy, right? Highlights include outsource your weaknesses. I thought doing things I was bad at was a sign of willpower and strength. In hindsight, it was a sign of ego and stupidity. If you're optimizing for value creation, only do things you can be the best in the world at. How to make Instagram useful. Follow this policy. 1. Do I want to see this person in the next 6 months? 2. Did this educate me? 3. Did this make me laugh? If you answer no to all 3 questions, mute the account. After 1 week of pruning, your feed is incredible. Wise card. Whenever I travel overseas, instead of going to a currency exchange shop to get some cash in the currency of the country I'm going to, these days I just use this magical debit card. It's called a Wise card. By an absolute mile, it's the cheapest and easiest way I've found to exchange money into a different currency and then be able to spend it in that currency. It's just a normal debit card that lets you exchange money into pretty much any currency, but charges you barely anything to do it. The mission of the company is to move money instantly, transparently, conveniently, and eventually for free. It makes no sense. Up until recently, the company that performed these currency exchanges was known as TransferWise. I think I've been using Wise to transfer money between countries for about 7 years, and you can read more about the nuts and bolts of how it works here. Advice from a director of multiple NZX companies. This week I went to an event I would usually not go to. It was hosted by Tractor Ventures and it was all about how to get money to grow your startup. It was targeted at founders and I have no interest in founding a startup. So why was I there? Was it the free sushi and handmade spring rolls? Maybe. The real reason I went along was because I am looking for my next full-time job and I'm fairly certain I wanted to be in an early stage startup. So I thought I could learn about some startups I hadn't heard of and meet some interesting people. As soon as I walked in, I could tell this was not your typical meetup. I kind of love the feeling of being in a room with people who are decades ahead in their careers, and this was very much that. Maybe it's my background in comedy, but I'm very comfortable playing the role of the idiot. The most interesting conversation I had was with the first person I spoke to. He was an unassuming, late middle-aged guy with glasses wearing a blue and white striped shirt. It turns out he's the director of several startups and NZX listed companies. So, keen to make the most of my one opportunity to ask a question to a director of multiple companies, I asked him, what has surprised you the most about being a company director? When you're a director, you can no longer roll up your sleeves and do the work yourself, he responded. So when you have an idea that you think will help the company, the best way to get people to take action is to ask really good questions. These questions hopefully cause people to go, we should do that. The sushi was lousy and I didn't understand half the jargon being thrown around the room. But it's always a thrill to walk away from an event feeling like you asked a few good questions, meaning you now understand the world 0.00001% more than you did when you walked in. P.S. I'm experimenting with turning some of these posts into TikToks.